Hello and welcome to What the Math. Today I'm going to show you how to get into orbit in Kerbal Space Program Demo version using a very simple ship design. So let's just start from scratch. I'm going to resume the saved game and I will show you a very simple spaceship that you can construct and that will take you to orbit. So start with the command pod. This is for those of you who actually had trouble getting into orbit. So we're going to have several stages, and we're going to think logically here, or think in stages. The first stage, this last stage that is, this is the stage that will accelerate me into the orbit. So I'm going to use a half a tank. I think this should be enough for me. Half a tank and this very light engine. One thing you have to look at when you put in on engines is how much does it weigh. This one here is 1.5 ton. This one here is 1.25 ton, but this one here is 0.5 ton. This is actually the lightest possible engine, meaning that you can actually reach higher speed and higher acceleration in the last stage. But this engine is not enough for us to get into our orbital stage, so we need to add a decoupler here. And what this will do is actually it will let us attach different other stages. Actually, I forgot to also add a parachute because safety is first. Safety is priority. Anywho, now this is the stage that will take us into the actual orbit, or will basically give us a circular or elliptical orbit. Now, before we get there, we need to actually reach that stage. So we need to reach the space first. To reach the space, we'll need another stage, and for this I will use a much heavier engine that can control my ascent. And there's two choices here. There's LVT-30, which actually is more powerful but burns fuel faster and also doesn't really let us control the ship. And there's a LVT-45 that burns a little bit less fuel, is less powerful, but you can actually control your ascent by rotating the nozzle. So I'm gonna put this, and actually I think this actually might be enough, but just in case I'm gonna add another half a tank because I think I want to be a little bit more careful here. And now this might be enough, but actually, just to be sure, I'm going to add, and just to show you how this works, I'm going to add a radial decoupler. And what I'll do is I'll enable this called angle snapping, and I'll enable this called symmetry. What this allows me to do is it allows me to add 3 at the same time. So I'm going to add 3 more, and these decouplers will actually separate when I want them to separate. And I will also add another big fuel tank right here. Right here. This is the difficult part. This is the most challenging part because radio decouplers in the earlier versions of Kerbal Space Programs did not detect things very nicely. So I have to play around with this until I actually get it attached to the decoupler. May have to lift it a little bit. And let's put it right here. And I'm only adding 1 because I don't think I need more than that. There we go. That's good enough. And just for the sake of aerodynamics, I'm going to add a nose cone. It doesn't actually weigh very much, so it's not a problem. Some of you I saw some of you adding winglets. You can add them for sure to get even more control, but they're not really necessary. We don't really need them. What we do need, however, is a control module. So that's SAS module, which I forgot to add. And what this does is it creates a kind of a spinning rotation thingamajig that will allow your ship to be more stable in orbit. I'm going to add the one that's lightest. I think this is the lightest one. So I'm going to put it right here. And I'm also going to add another decoupler on top because I want to separate this at some point near the end. So which one is this? This is the one here. I'm going to put it as my last stage right before the parachute opens. And the parachute is going to be in the separate stage. So what I'm doing here, and this is something you should learn as well, this is the stages. So I'll show you in a second what this means when I add another engine. I'm going to add another engine right here. It will be a super powerful rocket. So this is what this is for. So basically, my first stage, this stage here will activate these 3 engines. They will burn for a while. And once they're empty, I'm going to release them using decouplers and activate my other stage right here. This stage will take me a little bit higher into the atmosphere, and when it runs out of fuel, I'm going to separate and activate my last engine. I can actually even combine these. I'm going to activate my last engine, which will circularize my orbit and take me into space. Then, lastly, when I have no need to be in space anymore, I can start planning my return back home, and then separate my engine and release my parachute. So this is the stage starting from 5 to 0. So let's see how this works. Let's see if this takes us into space. This is a very simple design, but it should work. Now, when you're on the landing stage, you need to activate your control system by pressing T. It's called SAS, and then you need to use Shift and Control buttons to control your throttle, because you don't want to over throttle and you don't want to have too little throttle. So if I have no throttle, this is what happens. Nothing happens. So I need to shift it. There we go. Shift it up, and we start flying into the space. So I'm going to skip through some of these parts, but basically this is me flying into space. And don't forget that you can actually control your spaceship with W, A, S, and D buttons. W is to go this way, A is to go this way, S is this way, and D is this way. So these are basically like arrow keys. Now as my ship is flying higher and higher, I need to start trying to control it so that it doesn't spin too much. It's still spinning a little bit, as you can see, but not enough for me to be concerned with it. But it's flying really nicely. And I'm about to run out of my first stage fuel, and I think it will be right around 10 kilometers, maybe a little bit less than 10. So this is when I'm going to disable my control, and I'm going to release my thingamajigs and start my next engine. So this is my next stage. I'm going to go to 45 degrees, which is right here. The reason I'm doing this is because I now need to start making my orbit less circular. I need to circularize my orbit by making it more circular. So I'm going to go sideways, which is this way, 45 degrees, and I'm going to go this way. So this is a good position. This is 45 degrees right here. If I look at my map, I can start looking at my orbit. So you can see it's already kind of turning a little bit more circular. Now the most easiest way to get into orbit is to go to 45 degrees until you reach the highest point, or also known as the apoapsis, which is right here, of about 70 kilometers, 70,000 meters. So this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to blast this engine up and away until I reach 70,000 meters. Not here, but here. This should be 70,000 meters. This will be probably about 50,000 when this happens, but I'm not sure yet. So there we go. It's coming closer and closer to 70,000, and at this point I can actually even stop my engine. I'm going to stop my engine right now by pressing X and go to this point over there. Now the reason I did this is because I'm going to now go completely sideways. I'm going to go 90 degrees. So this way. I'm going to go this way because I want to make my orbit circular. And I think now would be a good time to start blasting. No, maybe a little bit later. In about 10 seconds or so, I'm going to start blasting my engines. So I think at around this point, maybe this point here, I'm going to start blasting my engines in about a minute. And what this will do is it will make my orbit more circular and help me go sideways, because if you remember correctly, to get into orbit I need to go sideways really, really fast. If I go up really fast, I'll still come down. But if I go sideways, I can then reach the orbital speed needed. So in about 35 seconds, we're going to go sideways, and this will help us reach the orbit. And you can see the moon is right there. And you can see I did the maneuver here. The maneuver is just for me to know when to start my engine. This is telling me right here that in 20 seconds I should start blasting my rocket. I'm going to do it in... Actually, even now. I think even now would be a good time to start blasting it. I'm already in space, actually. This is 72,000 meters. This is technically considered to be space. And what I'm doing now is I'm blasting toward the horizon, toward the brown, the border between the brown and the blue. And this will allow me to create my circular orbit. If I look from this angle on my map, I can see that it's going to become more circular as I blast more and more fuel. And so I do have my apoapsis, which is the highest point, but I don't yet have periapsis. Okay, so last stage is finished. Let's release it and start our last tiny engine. As you can see, it's actually going pretty fast. This is a really powerful engine when there's not much mass to be boosted. Now here, my fuel will decrease really slowly because this is it's a very efficient engine, but you can see this is already getting a circular shape as I go more and more straight. There we go. Now we have our periapsis, and there we go. So this is a perfectly circular, or not perfectly circular, but close to a circular orbit. Our periapsis here is 75,000 meters, and our apoapsis is 80,000 meters. So technically we're in space, and we'll be orbiting like this forever and ever until we do something about it. I can increase this even more. I can make this more eccentric by blasting my engine right here, and this will make my orbit even more eccentric. I can even go to apoapsis of 1.3 million meters, but I don't need to do this because this is something that's for another lesson for another time. Right now we just need to get into orbit. So this took us to orbit, and now if you accelerate time, you'll actually be spinning around Kerbin, around this planet forever and ever. I will be spinning around this planet until something happens, until either I smack into something, i.e. some kind of another object orbiting around this planet, but not this object because we'll never cross paths, or until I decelerate and descend back into the planet. Now this is the fun part. You cannot actually return to planet if you just blast toward it. So if I start blasting my engines, let me just show you what I mean. If I start blasting my engines this way, like this will not help me return back. This will not do anything actually. What it will do is it will make my orbit more eccentric, and I'll show you what I mean. This is me blasting my engines toward the planet. Okay, this way. There we go. This way. And as I keep blasting my engines toward the planet, it will continuously stretch my orbit and create an even more eccentric orbit. So I will not actually return to the planet. To return to the planet, what I need to do is I need to turn my ship away from my velocity. So, and the velocity is represented by this circle here. The circle with the cross is actually away from my velocity. So this is, I'm currently going this way, but now I'm facing this way. Now if I actually blast my engines toward this little point, even a little bit, if I blast them just a little bit, this will be enough for me to return back to Kerbin. And I'll show you what I mean. Look at that. So here, I'm going to blast just for a little bit. So right now my speed is 2,289. I'm going to blast this to 2,280. 2,280. Oh, sorry, for 80 meters per second. So until 2,000. There we go. That's enough. So this is only 90 meters per second. And look at that. My orbit disappeared. And I'm now going to be landing. I'm going to be landing on Kerbin. Now, if I want to return back to orbit, all I need to do is blast this again. Back to 2,229 or 89, whatever it was. I think it was this. And back to orbit. So this is how you orbit and deorbit your spaceship. It's very, very simple. And if you really want to try, you can even try to get to the moon. I think I actually have enough fuel to get me to the moon, so I'm going to try it right now. I'm going to try to select my moon as a target, and then increase my speed until my apoapsis crosses with the moon orbit. Right here somewhere. And now I just have to rotate my waypoint until I find that crossing point with the moon. Which is somewhere right... Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. There, it's perfect. So right here, I need to blast my engines. Ooh, that is going to be an interesting pass by, but let's try it. So I was able to find this one crossing right here that's approximately 300 kilometers away from the moon. It should be enough for us to see it. But I won't be able to land on it, unfortunately, because I don't have enough fuel. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to blast my engines at this point and show you how to pass by the moon. And to do this, what we need to do is, we need to align with this blue waypoint, and then blast our engines for 864 meters per second, which is 56 seconds toward this point. And this will let us pass by the moon. And after this, when we pass by the moon, we're going to return and smack back into Kerbin. So this is actually exactly what I want. I want to pass by the moon, have a flyby as it's called, and then smack back into Kerbin. So let's do it. Let's try this. I'm going to accelerate my time and wait until 27-minute point. So there we go. Oh, I missed it by a little bit. Okay, it's okay. Let's start blasting. Okay, so what this is doing right now is it's increasing my apoapsis, and you can see it right here on the map. It's actually increasing very slowly until it crosses the moon orbit, or lunar orbit as it's called. And this will in terms allow me to pass by the moon, and then because I am not actually making my orbit, okay, there we go. Because I'm not making my orbit cross the moon, I will not be able to land on it. And actually I don't want to land on it because I don't have enough fuel. So this will... Okay, it's not as perfect as I thought, but I'm gonna have to correct this a little bit by adding another maneuver right here. I'm going to pass by the moon and then return back to Kerbin. So this will allow me to pass by and return back without really landing on it. Okay, so I think I was able to adjust my orbital path just enough for me to pass by the moon at around 80 kilometers, which is really enough for us to see everything. So let's just try it again. I'm gonna start it from here. In about 1 minute, we're gonna blast our engine for 5 seconds. Perfect. Alright, so let's see what we have. Right now, we're going to pass by the moon at, wow, that is incredible, at 6,000 meters, which is basically 6 kilometers away. And we'll pass by so close that we'll actually see all the features on the moon, and then leave the moon. There's no atmosphere, so basically leave the moon orbit and return back into the orbit around Kerbin, at which point I have to decelerate again just so I can land. So this is actually perfect. Let's go and look at the moon. So this is our tiny spaceship that is going to go and look at the moon, and look at the face of, what's his name, Milton Kerbin. He is actually very not happy about the situation. He right now does not look like he's enjoying himself, because this looks like a very scary situation for him, right? Look at me, look at me. There we go. Oh, that face is a face of fear. Alright, so I'm gonna return him back to his capsule because it is a little bit dangerous to be in space by yourself with nobody to save you. I would just hope that you don't have the same experience as in the movie Gravity, because that was not fun for the people in the movie. Specifically, being stuck in space and not able to return would not be fun. Alright, so let's look toward the moon. We're actually going to fly by it really fast. And we're going to fly by its surface without really smacking into it. So this is a very precise mathematical calculation that this game allows you to do. By changing the waypoints, you can essentially calculate the pass by. And there we go. We're still coming to the moon, and we're going to pass by actually by approximately 5.8 kilometers. Hopefully there's no mountains that are that high on the moon. I don't think there are, but there might be a mountain. If there is a mountain, we're going to smack into it. And if not, we're just going to pass by in this manner, in this fashion. This is this right here is called hyperbole, and we are going to pass by in this hyperbolic fashion and then leave the moon and return back into orbit around Kerbin. So let's accelerate time and get closer to the moon. It's approaching slowly toward it. Can actually increase the time a little bit more. And there we go, look at that. We can see the surface. Surface is coming toward us pretty fast, looking more and more beautiful. And this will be the closest that Milton Kerbin will have been to the moon. He hasn't landed on it, but he doesn't actually... Okay, he does have enough fuel to land on the moon, but he doesn't have enough fuel to return. And we don't want him to get stuck there, right? Right? Maybe we do, I'm not sure. Anyway, so here we go, pass by the moon, really fast. The speed is actually almost 1 kilometer per second. It's going to be close to 1 kilometer per second by the time he reaches the surface. And unfortunately, we're going to be on the dark side, so we won't be able to see the features of the surface. But you cannot have everything, I guess. And if you want to see the features, maybe you can try this yourself when it's actually brighter, or try to aim for the brighter side of the moon. We're at 13 kilometers, 12, 11, 10, 9, oh wow, okay, here we go. So this is us moving at 900 meters per second, 6 kilometers above the moon. I kind of sort of see motion below me, but I don't see the actual surface. And now we're going to start going up. There we go. So we passed by, this was the closest approach, and now we're going to be leaving it. Leaving it behind and moving away from it. It's basically just darkness right now because we are on the dark side of the moon, and you can see that we've left it safely, and now we can return back to Kerbin. Now, to return back to Kerbin, just like with the previous deorbiting maneuver, we're going to face away from our acceleration, from our velocity. I'm going to show you what I mean by this in a second, as soon as I escape the moon. So here, we're going to decelerate away from our velocity. So at this point right here, I set a maneuver to decelerate myself, and what this will do is it will decrease my periapsis to approximately 6 kilometers above Kerbin. Now, because Kerbin does have atmosphere, it means that we can actually use its atmosphere to help us decelerate even more, because there's going to be something called atmospheric drag. But here, all I'm doing right now is decreasing my speed by just a little bit, by about 200 meters per second. Not even 200, I think it's more like 150 meters per second. And this will take me back into Kerbin. So if I accelerate my time right now, it will take me back to Kerbin. And I still have enough fuel left to even reorbitize myself around Kerbin if I wanted to. But I think it's time for Million to go home and to see his family, to say hello to his wife and kids, or possibly get a wife and kids. Oh, too fast, too fast. Okay, so there we go. We're entering Kerbal atmosphere. I'm going to actually release my last stage because we don't need it anymore. And now we're going to fly back into Kerbin in our little capsule that will then safely land by releasing his parachute. And I think we're actually aiming for the water. It's going to be a water entrance again. I think it is. I think it's going to be... Oh no! Here we go. Here's some land here. We might be able to reach the land. And his speed is decreasing. It was 3 kilometers a second, 3 kilometers per second a few minutes ago. Now it's less than 1500 meters per second. And there we go. Decreasing slowly, entering safely. And I can now release my parachute. I don't have to actually release it yet because we're still decelerating. I'm going to release my parachute around 2 kilometers. And this is perfectly safe descent. Okay, there we go. Parachute's out. And usually at around 500 meters, parachutes actually open up. And now you can safely descend back to Kerbin. And mission complete. I could even go outside and take a look. Oh no, no, I should not have done that. I should not have done that. That was a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I hope you have no kids and children. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh, you survived. You survived. You survived. We survived. Yay, we're alive. Okay, mission complete. I'll just wait for our capsule to return. Where is it? Somewhere over there. And anyway, that's it. That's how you do it. Let's. We can actually plant a flag here, I think. Can we? No, we can't. Because this is Kerbin. Okay, we cannot plant a flag in this area. But anyway, so thank you for watching. Hopefully this was clear to you how to get into orbit and how to approach the moon and how to get closer to the moon using the Kerbal Space Program Demo version. And good luck to you. Bye-bye.